Ryan. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Welcome. I was just fixing my hair. My eye is all bloodshot. It's this one. I think I might be a zombie. I'm not really sure. Welcome back, everyone. It's Sunday night, and I have a little bit of a different angle this week. We're trying out here, but we got a lot of new things we're thinking about. But if you have not been here before, I will say this. My name is CJ Reynolds, and I run this YouTube channel called Real Rap with Reynolds. What Real Rap means is real talk, and that's usually around education or anything else that you want to talk about. What we do is we show up on Sundays, and even Sundays are at the end of the 2020-2021 school year, when most people might be turning into zombies. I'm not really sure. There might be more of you out there with bloodshot eyes, but not really sure where that came from. Keep fidgeting with these arm things. I'm sure that's not annoying. So here's the gig. If you've never been here before, if you're new, or if you just forgot, here's the idea. We show up on Sundays because it's often the most difficult night of the year for educators to kind of muster up the courage to get back in, especially at the end of such a tumultuous school year. So what we do is we show up for two reasons. We show up to get answers, and we show up to be an answer. So sometimes you might have a question. If you want to you have a question, you want to come on and talk live to me, like my friend James Pete's about to do in a moment, you can pop up on screen with me. Sometimes it gives a little bit, more context, and I get to ask some questions back to get a clear sort of idea. So I can answer it. Or you could just ask a question right in the comment section, and that's completely fine too. If you are showing up not to ask a question, but maybe to be an answer to someone, find folks in the chat. Someone asks a question, you want a little bit of follow-up, you want to give them some resources, you want to connect with them outside of this. Here's the amazing thing about this, and this is something we never, ever anticipated. People become friends outside of this. I know of at least one cohort that meets every Friday night and has drinks together on Fridays after school. We were going to do that this week, and then I think I just forgot.
No, I think we were out when they were on.
Oh, okay. So anyway.
They don't meet together. They meet on Zoom.
Yeah, it's super cool, and I just love it. So this is a place to show up, to find your people, because like Seth Godin says all the time, people like us do things like this. So before we get into questions, I want to offer two things. One, next week, which is a weird week to go live. Look, there could be 4 people. I don't really care. I show up for whoever shows up. We are going to show up on Memorial Day weekend, and here in the U.S. we celebrate Memorial Day. Next weekend will still be on Sunday, still at the same time, but it's going to be the last broadcast until July. We're not going to come back till after another American holiday, the 4th of July, and to give ourselves a little bit of break, to reboot some things and create some things, and we're trying to make this experience ever better. I don't know, Edie, that's probably wrong. I probably said that wrong. But anyway.
To clarify, our date that we'll be back will be July 11th.
July 11th, which is still after 4th of July. Whose birthday?
My brother.
Oh, that's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to transition from that.
Just transition. It's
okay, so then we'll be back July 11th. So next week, I have a fun idea. I'm thinking about not having I'm still thinking about answering questions and stuff like that, but I have a fun idea for next week that might make Edie scowl, but we'll talk about that this week. Edie at the meeting. The other thing is, I have gotten an enormous number of responses to the fact that there is a company out there called Breeze Max Direct. Make this little air conditioner thing, you put it in your house or whatever.
Who knows if it's even real?
They stole footage of me, and they stole footage of my students from YouTube, and then they used it to create an ad that says that my name's Vincent. First of all, can I have there's nothing wrong with name Vincent, right? That was the name of the dog on Lost. No, I'm just saying if I could have a tough name, that's all. I wanted a tough name, a super tough name, something street, made me look tough. My name's Vincent. I'm a teacher in Baltimore, right? Wrong. And that I needed to create this thing so my students could find success, right? So the fact that this company not only used my image and has been trying to speak to my audience, right? This community that we've all built together. They are using images of my students illegally to promote their product. So I had a call with a lawyer on last week, and then I have a follow-up this week. I had to go find I have over almost 500 videos on YouTube. I had to go find the clips that they used to do. What a huge pain in my behind to do this, right? So like that's what I've been doing the last few days. So like I had to get all this stuff so that I can then I don't know what we do, but I've never like sued anyone. I've never done anything lawyery. I mean, like even if I get in a car accident, I just pay for it. Like I just like it's not my game. Like I'm just not into that. But I'm just so pissed that this happened, that someone like took this thing and like used my students' likenesses so they could make some money on their air conditioner product. Like
we do want to just say thank you though for everyone that's alerted us to it to us.
I was going to go there and I got lost in the sauce there about my anger.
Go ahead. You want to continue?
I do. I really appreciate it. Like the fact that like the first person that hit me up, I forget who it was.
We thought it was a scam.
I thought it was spam. I thought they were trying to get me to just like go to their product, like go check out prismax.com.
I was like, what?
And then I was like, and then another one and another one, another one. I was like, this is a pretty persistent spamming project. And then I realized like, then when I started recognizing some of the names, I was like, oh, like this is a legit thing. And I couldn't find it on YouTube because it's an ad that comes up before you watch any YouTube video, right? So you could look up, I don't know, how to dance or cook or sing, and like it was popping up and folks were noticing it. So anyway, I appreciate it. And it's just a testament to like the kind of folks that show up to this and are a part of this community. I love it.
So I also want to add, if you see the ad, the best thing that you can do, because we have to prove that it's our content and all of that sort of stuff. So we have enough comments and emails and DMs and screenshots and recordings of it now. But what we do need is for anybody that sees it to just report it to YouTube, because we can't. It's an ad, and for whatever reason, it's not showing up for us on anything.
Well, we also pay. I pay for the upgraded YouTube.
I've searched far and wide for it. I cannot find it.
No, it only exists as a pre-roll.
Right, because the normal process is to report it for us with YouTube, go through the questions and all of that, and then they take it down. But because we can't find it, we can't report it ourselves. So that's why we need to get a lawyer involved at this point. So if you see it, please just report it. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Now on with our show. What you got?
Well, Mr. James Pete is first. If
Pete, are you there?
Coffee.
Are you done making coffee?
Here he comes.
Here he comes. Let's add him to the show. All right. See, that would have been so much.
Woo! Here we go. I'm back.
What's up, man?
Hey, listen, I had to get coffee because this is part of my story today.
I heard about those mugs. I think they're for sale.
If you go to realrapwithreynolds.com and go to the store, you can find these, I think.
I think merch is now available. Anyway. Yes. What's up, buddy?
Well, man, listen, I don't have a question. I just have points of talking, and I don't mind taking a little bit of time because I haven't been around the past couple of weeks.
Okay,
so
go for it. You deserve it.
So number one, sometimes people buy these things without actually like paying attention to the word community. And I just want to say, you mentioned the Friday group, which I may or may not be a part of. I think that all the people that come here are looking for community and all of that. But I think it's important, regardless of what role in your community you play, to realize that there are like multiple sides of that community to play a part of. And I think I've always been the rock of my community, the room that people come into, which makes me not a good non-rock, if that makes sense. And you know a little bit of the story, CJ. Like I've been struggling hard over the past month, and had to learn how to be the other side of that, how to look for help instead of being the one there. And it's been hard. And I just want to say to everyone out there, just know that there are lots of roles in that community to play, but find your people. I'm so glad you said that, because that's been my thing this whole entire year. It's so important to find your people wherever it is. And I just want to thank you and Jenai and just the whole community, because without me having been apart really over the past month or two, I still have felt very, very supported by this community. So anybody who's here for the first time, stick around. Like, we're worth it. So that's number one. Number two, I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yesterday, my friend.
Really?
And we walked in, and I had this, and my daughter had a Van Halen shirt on, and we're there for 2 seconds, and a curator walks up to us and says, "We need to take you somewhere." Now, I'm like, so they take us up to a room where nobody was, and sitting in that room was like Eddie Van Halen's entire rig. So it was just a great moment. So that's number two. Number three, I forgot what it was. Dang it.
It'll come back to you. I do want to say that when people hold up masks, sometimes it looks like they're holding up Speedos. I thought you were getting into swimming or something. I wasn't sure.
I mean, now I'm trying to picture how. Never mind.
Okay, no, let's not go there. No, don't do it.
So that's probably swims.
Oh, I'm sure we've got a Speedo story coming. So that's all the time I'm going to take. CJ, I appreciate you. You know that. Thank you for the support you've given this whole community, specifically me. And have a great summer. I will see you next week, though. I will see you now. I'll be here next week.
For sure. Awesome, man.
All right, man. Pete. Good to see you. See you guys.
Bye.
So, I don't remember how to leave.
I got you. Ready? 3.
Oh, wait, I got it.
I already got him before we could do it. You know, the community piece is so important, and he's right. Like, sometimes your school doesn't, like, your people don't work there, or your neighborhood, or whatever. Like, you need to go beyond where you live or where you are to find folks. I mean, and I think that this pandemic has really taught us that like there are people all over the world that we can connect with. And sometimes that's through things like this, or through like Facebook groups, or through even Instagram, like that there are these spaces and places where we can find people that are our people, that we feel connected to, that we feel like we get along with and that understand us. So that's a really good reminder, man. I can't believe how many friends I have online that I've never met in my life. I used to think that was so weird. My students would play video games and they'd be like, no, most of my friends live in Atlanta. I'm like, bro, Atlanta, what? Like, we live in Philadelphia. Like, walk to a friend's house. But now I get that.
Yeah, I think they're still real, right? Like, even though you don't get to have them in your life, there's so many other ways to connect now that if you don't have them, you really can build a community if you want.
I mean, look, how many friends does Brody have online just playing Fortnite? He never even met him in his life.
Yeah. All right, are we ready for your next question?
I am. Let's go.
All right, it's from our friend Stephanie.
What's up, Steph?
She says, I know self-care is super important. How do you find out what self-care looks like for you if you have never looked out for yourself? I'm on a journey, but struggling to feel refueled.
That's such a good question. And here's why. Because I know that, Steph, you're a mom of like 17 kids or something like that. So I mean, really, after a certain number, it just probably
after
feels,
2, I feel like
it's like I feel like 2 or maybe even 3. I feel like 3 is the precipice, and then you could have 20 kids and it feels the same as long as you have enough room. I think it's trying stuff, right? I think here's what we do as parents. I saw my mom do this, and I love my mom to death. She did everything for us. But one of the things that I saw my mom never be particularly good at was like doing things for herself. Like, my mom would like just not buy clothes for herself, not do things for herself, never take a vacation or a day for herself, like, because she was just pouring into us all the time. And I just, that's something I've had to learn for myself. So I think part of it is like being okay with like spending money and time and love on yourself. And that's not something I say easily at all. Like, I'm going to get a massage tomorrow, sitting in this friggin' chair, even though I got this expensive ergonomic chair with the friggin' arm things and the back moves and all just my lumbar or whatever the hell this lower thing protruding into my lower back sticks out. Like, I bought this, but not even this was easy to buy. I had to go be like, wife, I need you to, like, this is what I need. I'm having a hard time pulling the trigger. Can you help me out here? Doing things for myself does not come easy for me. And so sometimes that's two things. One, it takes some dreaming of just like, what would I like? Like, do I want to go get my hair done? Do I want to get, a massage? Do I want to go get, I have a friend that like I think is not particularly good at this either, but he's been a good person, like an in-person friend this time. That like, I was talking to him the other day and I said like, what'd you do all day, man? Like your wife wasn't around. And he was like, I went and bought like tobacco at the pipe shop. First of all, didn't know this was a thing. Lopez probably knows. He went and got like his beard trimmed up. And then he went and did something else that he liked that day too. And I was just like, what? I'm like, I guess like, so it's spending some money or some time or some love on yourself and being okay with that. If you're not, then talk to your spouse about this, or your boyfriend, your girlfriend, or like your best friend. Like, what should I do to do this? And just go try stuff. Go get one of those things where they put hot stones on your back, right? It's like 90 degrees here today. So maybe that doesn't sound, maybe they have cold stones somewhere.
You could do some cupping and some acupuncture. All that stuff, I will say, is really hard for me too to do. Like, I'm a mom, I'm not a teacher, but
we do a good idea. I don't spend money on myself. Well, I'll easily spend money on you. So when you're like, I want to get my hair done. I want to go get.
For you picking out a chair, you would have picked out the cheapest chair.
I picked out the cheapest chair, and it lasted 60 days. And then I was like, my back hurts.
I picked out a little bit more expensive chair for you because I knew it was worth it, and that's what you needed. But that's what you needed. It's been lasted more than 60 days. So
yeah. So, but we do a good job of like.
Yeah, but not everybody has that other person to do that for them. But so I think it's just creating a habit for yourself, even if it's once a month at this point, but like a habit to indulge in yourself because it really fills you back up. It's amazing.
It does
what it does.
Like I think about like I went for the first time since March, went out with people to have drinks last week. Awesome. I mean, I was I was there for 4.5 hours. I just was like hanging out because I was like missed it so much. That took time and it took money and I got a sunburn on my neck, but like it's that kind of thing. Or like, going and getting like the, what was that freezing thing we did? It froze our asses off. Cryo chamber.
Oh, like a cryotherapy. Yeah.
Friggin' awesome.
Yeah. Best thing ever.
Yeah, it was great.
But I think even small things, like, so during the day, we live not far from our river. Like the river is like about 4 blocks from our house, 4 to 6 blocks, something like that. I often just take a drive down there when I'm feeling
She takes a van down by the river.
I don't take a van. I take a little SUV. But anyway, I go down there and just take a mental break. It's the only space that's quiet is my car. Sometimes our house is so loud. And even just that, like, it doesn't even have to be spending money, but just taking the day to have time for you to think, to write, to pray, to whatever it is that you want to do.
And know that one thing isn't going to fix you.
Right.
It is the consistent doing of things that makes you feel better.
And try different things to figure out what your thing is.
Yeah. Go for it, dude. That's a great question.
Okay. Our next question is from Facebook. They say, hello. I am in my first year of teaching school after a career change, getting my degree to teach middle high school biology. I am passionate for change in our education system. I'm supportive of LGBTQA+ and Black Lives Matter and want CRT in the classroom and to be trauma informed. What would you say to people, other educators, that tell me to stay in my lane, teach the curriculum only, and that I don't know what I'm talking about because I have not actually been a teacher?
Oh gosh. Hold on first.
Yeah, you might have to reread that.
Yeah. Hold on, I just want to not miss something. All right, so Danielle. I feel like we should have music to play over this
when you're thinking.
Like thinking
music. Some good thinking tunes.
Some dramatic thinking music. I say no. I say no to people that tell you to stay in your lane. And if you've done the work, if you have a sense of what you're talking about, if you're really passionate about something and you care about something, and not just because here's the difference, right? And here's how you get away with everything. I say this a lot, but it's not just because you're supportive. It is. It's not just because, I'll say this, it's not just because you're interested in something or you're passionate about something. It's because students that are a part of those communities that you mentioned are a part of your class, or might be a part of your class, or thinking like I have students that are questioning their sexuality. They're not really sure where they're at. Something happens in the community, and they're like, they're wrestling with like race, and a lot of these conversations have come up in the last year more than ever. Questions of, I'm in 9th grade and do I matter? Am I worth the effort? Can I pull this off? Can I live the life I want to live? Like, these are things that students are wrestling with, and there are not a lot of outlets for kids to talk about these things, right? So a lot of the pushback to these types of things are, we're not here for that. We're not here to parent. We're not here to, we're here to teach to the curriculum so that kids can pass the test and they can go on and have like whatever, get into college or something like that. I think the missing link there is, we're not trying to parent, right? We're teaching, but we're teaching children. We're not teaching content. And so I think that is where it starts. And when we can have these conversations, even if kids are having these conversations at home, that's like you're watching your own news network and you're kind of like, it's in a vacuum, right? I think that stuff only really begins to, like, you start figuring out who you are, what you're about, and how to connect with other people, is when we can do that in the context of community. When we can do that together, when we're in a classroom together with folks that might not be supportive of Black Lives Matter, with folks that might not be down with LGBTQ plus community, with folks that might not think that that there are things like gender roles and stuff like that. And so when we are facilitating, not necessarily directing those conversations, not dictating those conversations, meaning we are creating safe spaces and places for students to get down and to have those conversations, I think, what are we reading the books for, right? Like there's something to, like, of course, we want our kids to be able to read. We want them to be able to consume stuff and remember, to be able to engage with it. But then let's be able to engage with it on a real world level. Like, otherwise, what's like, we're reading to what? Appreciate it, just imagery or something? Are we reading so that the best books that everyone loves are the books that connected with you on another level, that opened up a world to you, that helped you see things differently? And if we can at least open that up and have conversation with students about that, I think that's one of the best things we can do. It's not the only thing that we do as educators, but it's one of the best things that we do. For folks that say stay in your lane, whatever, I just do with that stuff anyway. Like, our room is a safe space to explore and express who you are, what you think, and what you feel. Our room is a safe space to grow and to challenge yourself and to be challenged by others and to learn active listening skills, so you can go back and forth and really not just think you know some stuff, but like know some stuff because someone else is actually speaking into your life. Like, these are all things that happen in the classroom. So I just say no to all of that. So do what you feel led to do. And look, I go by intuition all the time, but like, if I feel led to do something, I'm going to do it. I don't care what anybody else thinks. Now, look, there are some potential parameters, like in your school, that it's at least, look, I go against things constantly, and I'm not necessarily advocating for people to do what I do, and I'm not trying to set myself up like I'm some kind of friggin' renegade here either. But like, there are some times that students and topics and moments are more important than whatever comes out of the textbook that day, right? So I think knowing where your school stands, so at least when you cross the line, you're doing it with meaning and kind of leading with your chest, leading with your heart, and not just not just, you know, I wouldn't want you to like get fired and like I guess like if you're gonna break a rule, friggin' know the rule so that you can like break it with meaning, and make sure that what you're doing, right? So, and I would say this to anyone that's thinking about doing this, make sure that what you're doing is you're leading with your heart, and you're leading with your heart and your eyes connected to what's best for children. Right? That this isn't just like a thing we're doing because we love it, right? There's all kinds of stuff I love, but I don't teach through that lens. I don't teach woodworking necessarily, even though I love it. There's all kinds of weird crap that I'm into, but like, and not to equate what you were talking about with like weird crap, right? That sounded rude, but phone call. Someone calling to complain that I just did that. It is, what I'm saying is, having a sense that like what we're doing, that education is only ever about students. And so what we're doing, the moves that we're making, the things that we're bringing up, the things that we're talking about are in the best interest of students.
Hey, that's just what Catherine Moxley just said. She commented and said, secondly, Reynolds always says education is only ever about the students. Your lane is the students and making an environment that makes them feel safe and welcome.
Can we shout out Catherine Moxley for spray painting a bunch of random crap this week and giving away his trophies in her classroom?
It's not only the first time she's done that. I think she said it's the second time. Year. Yeah, and she said it's amazing at how it really works.
See, I love when my ridiculous ideas, someone goes, "No, I didn't, and it worked." And I'm like, "Oh, really? Like that could be replicated?" I just always think it's like some weird ass crap that I do. Okay, what you got?
Okay, Jub is next and asking, I just got my first teaching job with 5th grade science. Awesome. What are things that I can be doing over the summer to get the smoothest start when school starts?
So I think I'm really interested in like, even if your students were hybrid or even if they were in school mostly, like, or if it was a both and thing, I don't think kids are ready to enter back into this level of school again. So my guess is our school goes back full time next year. They're talking about extending the school day, going from 8 to 5 is the rumor that I heard, which is dumb. Because we're going to take kids that haven't been in school, have been going from 9 to 3 every day or 3:30 or something like that, and had kind of breaks built in there. No one's worn real pants in a while. Like there are a lot of things we have to sort of like that we're combating or that we're learning how to do again. So I would think about like social emotional stuff. I would try and educate myself on that as much as possible. Meeting students where they are and loving them. I mean, like anything by Brene Brown is going to be great. I think anything by Father Gregory Boyle is going to be great. And I'd say even Restorative Practices, which is a new book by Marisol. I'm going to forget her last. I forget what her last name is. I'll post it later. I posted on Instagram the other day.
A screenshot. Yeah, she has a new book out. She's a DBC author, and it's Restorative Practices, how to have those conversations, how to have that in your classroom, and all that sort of stuff. It seems like a really great and timely book. Yeah,
and then the other thing that's a little bit more fun is think of like, what did you want to do? What do you want your class to look like? What do you want your class to be like? Nice. What do you want your? Can we put that in the chat? Can you? What do you want school to look like? And what have you been dreaming about like your whole life? Because maybe that's the move. Maybe the move is like looking up things, dreaming about things, and being the teacher that you always wanted to be. Like getting excited about that stuff. That's what I would be spending my time on. I try to multitask there.
I know.
Let's try to look up that book. Do you need me to?
No, I got it. I'm gonna
talk while you're.
Nope.
Okay.
We have a question that's not quite. I don't know if it's really education based, but I'm gonna give it to you.
I love those questions.
You can handle it. Mateus is asking, can depression make a person lose interest in you?
That's a great question. Yes. That's my short answer. I think loving someone that deals with depression or any other thing, right? Like it's like I think when we first meet folks, there's actually a chemical, and I don't just think this is the science, that like there's a chemical that's released in your brain that makes you feel all euphoric and lovey, and like friggin' everything they do is like the most magical thing that ever. Like, can you believe they even make eggs like this? Oh my gosh, this is the greatest, coolest thing ever. And it's all magical and feely and stuff. That, I forget, what is it, 2.5 years, something like that? That
2
lasts
years.
2 years that generally lasts, and then it peters off, and then you're just left with realness. You're left with people, you know, chewing their nails and leaving them on the coffee table. You're left with like people with dirty dishes, and they leave their hair in the drain all the time in the shower, and you're like, yo, come on, this is gross.
None of these are things that happen in our house.
We don't
just
do
an
this.
FYI.
No, we have it nailed. We're an exception. No. So we like, there's people always have stuff. I think I think, and I'm gonna go up. We're gonna go here. Let's get real for a minute. Let's get real. I think men especially look for the next best thing. That's why dudes don't ever want to get married, because they think, what if there's a better one? There's this girl at work that I really like, and she's always together, and she's so fun and funny. And it's like, you don't know what her deal is at home. Like, you don't know. Like, then she starts like, I don't know, biting her toenails off, like while you're sitting there watching TV, or there's, I don't know. But like, there's always everyone has their stuff. And I think that like, when relationships get real, when you start being vulnerable, when people start finding out who you really are and what you're about, sometimes that's stuff they can get down with, and sometimes that freaks people out. So I would say, would depression make someone lose faith in you or lose interest in you? Yes. But you got to know, and they got to know, that you're more than your depression. You know, that is something you're working through. And so I think what a remarkable thing. So like, look, nothing connects people like shared experiences. And I think nothing connects people like shared hurt. That like, when my mom got sick and was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, like, I removed everyone from my life. Like, I left the band I was in. I quit my job. I quit college. I tried to quit my girlfriend, and
I didn't let him.
No, she didn't. And so, but that, like, after we had gone through that, like through my mom's illness and through her death, like, there was such a bond there that it was like, I don't know that I could ever, like, it would take a lot to have this bond with someone else. So I think, wouldn't it be interesting if someone walked through that with you, or if you walked through that with someone else, and like the level of deep connection that would be there is amazing. And look, I think that's why, you know, I don't want to over speculate, but like, I think that's why, like, folks that stay married for a lot of time, look, I think they're going to fall in 2 different camps. They're either like just got really good at being together and they got really comfortable, or they have really deep, wonderful relationships because they did the work. And no matter who you date, no matter who you're married to, you're going to have to do the work to come out the other side. And it's like, how committed do you want to be to doing the work so that we can be the greatest thing that ever walked the earth? Bang. What you got?
Kara was asking, we need to remind ourselves that this has been a really tough year for everyone on levels that cannot be imagined. I live in South Africa. I am having to remind the kids all the time, keep masks on, and not to share stationery and devices, and to stay social distance. Things that were never a problem are an additional weight on the classroom management. Our school year only ends in December, and our vaccine rollout is not as far as yours. And they said, not sure what my question is, but I don't know if you have
so
classroom management piece was interesting.
I think you're right. First of all, shout out to South Africa. That's actually on my list of, like, before I'm out of the classroom, I'd love to take students to Japan and to South Africa. I taught for 2.5 months in Zambia, which is north of South Africa, but because otherwise it would be called Souther Africa or something like that, but it's not. That was a dumb joke. Damn, that was so dumb. But I taught in Zambia in a place called Macha, which is amazing. Anyway, I think you're right in that. Here's how I'm thinking about this. This is like we're dealing with a lot of dark stuff, I feel like, this week. But if that's what's needed, then let's do it. Like, I'm not afraid of it. I'm just noting it. When you have a friend and their parent dies, their spouse dies, you know, someone really, really impactful in their life dies, as friends, we often lose sight of the fact that like maybe we feel better. You know, it's summertime, it's getting nice out. Your mom died in February, but you know, it's nice out now. We can start getting out again, start doing things together. And you don't realize that in the quiet hours of that person's life, that it's still a struggle, that it's still something that's very, very hard. That's still something that they're constantly dealing with, that you can be sitting there, and you're talking, and you're hanging out, and then like the wrong commercial comes on, they see an old voicemail message pop up, like something happens, and it pulls that up again. And oftentimes, if you've never been through something like this, oftentimes you can look at someone doing that and go, oh, again, like we're still like, that was February. Like it's June. Come on. It's like, you know, it's good now. And it's like, it's not. And so I think that this last school year in many ways is going to be like that next year, that we're going to be back to school and the classrooms are ready and the lessons are ready and we're so excited and you got pants that fit you because nothing from last year fits you. You know, you're in the extra large now. It used to be a medium. Not saying that's me, just saying these pants are kind of tight right now sitting here. It is never forcing someone's growth. It is moving at the pace in which they grow. Now we can motivate people. We can like light a fire under their ass sometimes. That's a metaphor. We can push people in a positive way to like inspiring them and motivating them and stuff. But I recently did a mentoring call with someone that asked like, do you get annoyed that I talk about the same thing every week? And the answer is no. Your growth is on your timetable. I have no timetable for someone's growth. And I don't think coming back from this, that we should have a timetable for people's growth either. We show up and we are at that safe space for students and for staff and for the families and communities with which we work in. And that is the work will take as long as the work takes. So I think you're absolutely right. It is trying to find patience. It's trying to love ourselves so that we can show up and we can be what we need to be for students. And when we can't, call out a day and go, you know, I don't know, go to Starbucks, get a Frappuccino and then get a massage.
Or sit in your car.
Actually, get a massage first, then get the Frappuccino because you don't want to be all hopped up on caffeine when you're sitting on the table. That would be awful.
Can you take that off? Oh, I don't think I put it on
I took off the other one.
Sorry. Okay. Anonymous question.
They always come on.
Like you, like you, I teach English, but in my case, I teach it to 5th and 6th grade. I sometimes struggle with doubting myself as to whether I'm teaching effectively. Feels like a lot of factors are outside of my control, but I try hard to overcome that. What does success look like for you? How can I know if I'm teaching effectively, knowing that sometimes the results are either contingent upon other things and also can be difficult to gauge?
Can I just here's what I want to do.
That's a great question.
To Anonymous's question, I'm going to ask if everyone could pay attention and stop listening to John Lopez in the chat for just a second. If you sometimes feel inadequate at your job and feel like you're not sure you're finding success as a teacher, can you just say yes in the chat?
Put a raise hand emoji or
something like that. Like just blow the chat up, because I think that my sense is that that's a lot of teachers. So if you feel like you don't always find success and that you're inadequate as a teacher occasionally, can you just say yes in the chat? I think, Anonymous, to your question, I think there's two pieces there. One, I just want to say that, yeah, I feel like that all the time. Like, because we're trying to be so many things to so many people, and you have 32 kids in your class, or even if you have 15, but they're really, really difficult, or even if you have 4 because you're teaching small group and you know where you need to get to, or you have a sense of where you need to get to, or you're looking where everyone else got to, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, we're losing the race here. It can feel daunting. I think that there's a couple of different ways to work with that. One is to know that I don't measure success in a year or in a month or in a marking period or something like that. I measure success in a lifetime. I look at freshman year, I teach kids. Then I know them for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, sometimes an extra bonus year for some kids. And it's about showing up for kids in all of those years. It's about letting kids know when they graduate from high school that I'm always here. right? Like, so even if I like maybe one day don't work at the school anymore, but like, you know, reach out. I'm here to help you. And then it's finding connection points with those students. So like when we do this, we are not putting a date on success and saying you didn't, you know, learn algebra 1 in the right time frame, or like, you know, you still can't diagram a sentence or something like that. It's like, it's giving yourself the grace and giving that kid grace, and not saying that this year, this is what needed to happen, and you didn't do it, so now it failed, and now we're all failures. I think that's one. I think two is, you know, one of the things I'm really thinking about next year, and I've never done that. I've done goal setting in my life constantly, but I've never done goal setting in a classroom space. So I've really been thinking about like, what does a successful class look like? And so I think that's worth writing down. Like, to you, how does a successful class operate? What does it look like? Are kids passing? Are they engaged? Are they sharing? Are they communicating? Are they growing? And then marking success, like, you know, and seeing like, but getting into the weeds with that, like, what do good grades mean? Because we all know damn well that like a 65 for one kid is a 95 for another kid, because you don't know where they came from in the past. So it's like figuring out like what students need, and then trying to figure out goals for them or for that class or for that period, and then trying to figure out ways that you can inch towards those goals. Like what are like manageable increments that you can move up. So I always tell people that have like classroom management issues, like, can we get your first 2 minutes under control? Can we handle the first 2 minutes where students are coming in, they know exactly what to do and they know how to get started? And then looking at the class as a whole and trying to figure out, like, eyeball, what's the percentage of kids right now that are doing this? Because oftentimes, just because there's 1, 2, 4, 5 kids that are like off point, there's 20 that are on point. And so it's like, but then folks damn themselves if their class is out of control. And it's like, no, that's like, I don't know math, but like, that's a sizable amount of individuals that are like on point right now. So I think it's figuring out some of those things too. Yeah, I could talk a lot about that, but
maybe you should make a video about it.
Maybe I should.
Okay, our next question is coming from John Fox. He's asking, can you talk about how you plan your lessons, both your process of planning and the structure of your typical lesson, like how much time you plan for teaching, discussion, group work, etc.? Yep,
awesome question. So I plan most of my lessons. This year was different because this year was different. But in an average year, all units are 5 weeks. I then get a calendar. I just go on it's like timeanddate.com. You can print out like a free calendar. I print out a calendar and I mark out, I write on the calendar any days that we have off, any days that there's like a PD, any day there's like election day or a school trip or anything like that, anything that's going to impede my lesson planning. I mark all of those on the calendar. I then take my book and I reverse engineer it. So for me, for literature, we're reading 5 to 6 novels a year. So I take that novel and I break up the number of pages. So like first time that we're going to read, so that not the first day of the unit do we read, but usually by the second or third day we start reading. And then I figure out how many pages do we need to read a week and then per day to be able to finish the book in 5 weeks. 5 weeks is just an arbitrary number too. So like if you want to go longer, shorter than that, that's fine. But I find that like with my students' rate, 5 weeks works. And then I figure out, once I have those page numbers for the day, I figure out what are the main things I want to introduce, discuss, get into in this book. So maybe it's stuff like imagery. Maybe I want to really look at like simile metaphor. Maybe I really want to look at symbolism. So I will figure out what weeks I'm going to talk about that, and then figure out what spaces and places am I going to, like, what are heavy topics that I want to talk about. Like for Lord of the Flies, it is toxic masculinity is something we really unpack when we're reading that book. So it is figuring out when in the book would be a good moment. So we read something and it's like, oh damn, like let's unpack that a little bit. Or bullying is another one that could come up in there, or a number of other things. And then finding what week they're going to work in. And then my class is basically the same every single day. It is a journal entry that kids have 5 to 8 minutes on, and I time them, and I have a time. I don't put a timer on the board because it gives kids anxiety in my classes, but I have a PowerPoint slide in the beginning of class that says pre-class, which is going to be, the pre-class is like, have your journal out or have this out or put your homework on your desk or whatever it is. Pre-class, you have 2 minutes to do this. Journal entry, this is the question that, like, we're going to do journal entry. It's going to take 5 to 8 minutes. Discussion of journal entry usually takes 2 to 3 minutes. Reading, and then have, depending on how much reading we have to do that day, there's a section for reading. And then that's what I have for like each activity. Almost every day follows the same pattern, right? The reason I like that is because I think that students really gain a lot from consistency. And I don't know that it is always like it's not always the order in which I'm doing something or the fact that I do something every day that's going to make it magical, right? My wife makes dinner every night. It's magical every night, right? Amen, HelloFresh. But like, it is, when you go to a wedding, it's always, it's the wedding, it's the drinks, it's the watching people dance, it's dancing your face off, and then it is probably more drinks. But like, it's the same thing all the time, but it's the way, it's the magic that's sprinkled on top of that. So how are we going to do this conversation? Where can we have this conversation today? Where can we do this activity? Where are we reading today? Are we reading on the floor? Are we reading in groups? Are we reading with everyone has their eyes closed and I'm reading something to them because we're talking about imagery? It's those sorts of things that sprinkle the magic on it. And I'm going to plug myself because I talk about this a lot in this book right here. Teach Your Class Off, the Real Rap Guide to Teaching. That's I have a whole chapter in there on like how to like kind of lay that out and how to sprinkle the magic on it. So that's my short answer of that. Because I feel like that's something I could like teach a course on.
Maybe you should make one.
Perhaps.
Okay. Our next question, when I can find it, because I was doing something else.
Do it.
Is coming from Jordan. Jordan's asking, I will have some of the same students again next year for more advanced art classes. Do you ever check in with students over the summer?
I do. I think that kids get bored 2 weeks into school, and I have withdrawal.
2 weeks into summer, you mean?
2 weeks into summer. What did I say?
School.
I think kids get bored 2 weeks into school also. So,
this is the truth.
But it is the, can we just say my ADD has bothered me because I have this hair on the side is just going. It's just has a question. So, I suffer from student withdrawal, and so now the beauty is I have everyone's gamer tag, so we can play Fortnite this summer. I also keep up with kids like just on social, like I'll DM them stuff or send them weird emojis. Kids whose numbers I have, I can text them or send stuff on WhatsApp. I connect with. I have plans to connect with several kids I used to teach this summer, which is something that I love to do. Sometimes kids come over to the house. Other times, like
kids that have graduated.
Yeah. Not just like ninth graders just coming over to kick it, like watching a movie on Friday.
No.
But if I lived in the neighborhood, I still don't think I'd do that.
If you taught in the neighborhood that we live in, I think my house and my porch and my outside would be filled
I wouldn't
with
like kids in my house
all the time.
But I could see like taking the neighbor's driveway, because we don't have a driveway because we live in our home, and like putting up one of those inflatable movie screens and just be like, yo, just ride your bike over. Like we're watching, me and the kids are watching Sandlot tonight, and then kids just coming over and watching it like in the driveway. Like I could see like having community events for stuff like that. We look like a block party all the time. But yeah, I think that's a great idea because I think that kids, I think it's a loss, and a lot of kids don't have a lot of friends, or they don't have people that like, they just might need someone that's like not their mom and dad to care about them or say what's up. I just think that that's exciting. You're not taking the place of a parent in that moment, but you're just like reminding kids that like you're more than just a 9 to 5, 8 to 8 to Monday to Friday kind of thing. So I do that all the time. I'm actually going out for drinks with Danzler this week.
Oh, yay. All right, our next question is from Kathy.
Danzler's 22 years old, by the way, so it's
he's safe.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right, our next question is from Kathy. She said, first, thank you for inspiring me to return to school and earn my master's to teach ELA. I took over middle school 6 to 8 ELA classes at a virtual academy and the plagiarism I see in research reports is terrible. What are your favorite strategies for teaching integrity in writing?
Oh, first of all, can we just say how terrible, like plagiarism? I had a kid, this is a real argument this week. Where you get a 0 because you plagiarized. Like, this isn't your own writing. Nope, it is. No, I Googled it and I found it on the internet. Like, it's attributed to someone else. I can even show you like who wrote it. Nope, that's where you're wrong, Reynolds. I paid for that essay. Now it's mine. Oh, I don't think you're grasping the idea here. Like, I downloaded a song once. I'm about to put it online and tell everyone that it was my song. Like, you know, that's not going to happen. I think it, you know, Kathy, I think like many things, it really comes down to holding kids accountable, having them really, really know and understand what plagiarism is, right? So that we're clear. And then talking to kids about why it's important to learn to write. So I had a kid the other day in class. He goes, yo, why are we, this is how every student sounds like in my head. Yo, why are you making us write 5 sentences for the journal? Because I felt like it was like a low enough number that was achievable to everyone, and we're at the end of the year. So like, and it's also enough sentences to like get your story across. It's too much. I can't write 5 sentences. I'm just not going to do it. What do you mean you can't write 5 sentences? It's 9th grade, bro. Like, and if I asked you to tell that story, if I asked, does anyone have a story about this? You could tell me 30 sentences on it. You could write, basically orate a book by doing that. But when I ask you to write it, it's like, no, it's not going to happen. I think, so what that does is it shows kids that you do have something to say, like you just don't want to do it. But like, that's up to you, man. Like, you know, you're in the boat rowing. I'm telling you what to do. If you don't want to row the boat, then you stay in the same spot. You know, your success is up to you. I think the other piece is, I think reverse engineering what kids want to be and what they want to do in their lives is really important. I think it's a great motivator in getting kids to actually do stuff. So if you have a student that wants to do anything, right? I had a kid the other day tell me that he doesn't even want, like, why do I have to learn this? Because I want to be, I want to buy houses and flip them and then like learn construction and then be able to flip real estate. And so that conversation became like, well, you need to know like a basic level of math to be able to do. Like, as a woodworker, I can tell you, like, you need to be able to do a basic number of math. You need to know fractions. You need to be able to like do some stuff. If you are trying, like, if you can't write like sufficiently, and like at least piece together some sentences that make sense, like there's a ton of stuff in that business you're gonna have to be able to do on that end too. You're gonna have to be able to know marketing, and you're gonna have to be able to know finance, and like there's a lot of pieces in that what we're doing now, you don't see how they connect. Let me help you connect them so you can see why what we're doing, why this skill, why not plagiarizing is actually important, because you will go to, because then the next thing you know what you're doing? You're becoming breezemaxdirect.com and you're stealing Reynolds' content online, and then you're putting it out as your own. Plagiarism, kids. So it is teaching kids about that. It is taking what do you want to do in your life, and then let me show you. It's then my job, because kids aren't going to do it. It's my job to connect these two things so that you understand why what we're doing right now is actually important in the thing that you want to do. So even if that's, I want to be a professional football player or a YouTuber or a rapper, or I want to play guitar for, I don't know, friggin' whoever you're playing guitar for, like even jobs like that, the connection piece isn't as easy. It's still connecting those things so that students can, so that what you're doing takes on a life of its own. And then it becomes like an awakening for kids. What you got?
Catherine Moxley is next, and she's saying, not a teacher-related question, but a question nonetheless. I walked 22 miles for veteran suicide awareness yesterday and today. And today I can't move. Like, it hurts to get out of bed. Any advice? I'm trained, but I guess not enough.
First of all, that's freaking awesome that you did that. 22 miles is far. It's making, like, literally making my legs cramp up a little bit. Catherine, whenever I am like, so when I was running for a year, I ran every day for a year. For those who don't know, in 2019, I ran 403 days in a row. I think that Massages work really well. Like if you can get a massage, and there are people that will come. I don't know what COVID does to this, but like there are people that will come to your house and give you a massage. And it's like $100 tops, which seems like a lot, but it's really, really helps with muscle recovery. And I think that, and look, I mean, maybe speak to someone, like I don't want to be the guy about this, but that's part of the reason I went to that cryo chamber. And so what it is like you get in this thing in your underwear and you wear Uggs and
gloves.
Your
Your extremities could literally freeze.
Yeah.
You have to take care of those, but everything else you're in a bathing suit and you just do the little cryotherapy. It's like
they shoot like cold ass air. It's like not like it's really cold outside. Like snap!
It's almost so cold that you don't really even realize.
It's ridiculous, right? It just makes you laugh your ass off.
It really
it's
does
so crazy.
make you feel great.
But what it does is it takes away a lot of the inflammation and stuff like that, and people use it for recovery all the time. I think that's really a wonderful thing. That's what I would consider doing. But yeah, or just talk to a doctor. Like I would talk to like a sports doctor.
Electrolytes also, like, is that a thing? Like, I guess it's not the same. Like,
no, but it would depend on like why I mean, it's like running 22 miles is just hard. And so
yeah, that's why I'm saying I don't think it's
just
like
tears
just an
you up.
electrolyte thing. I think it's just your muscles.
And then just rest. Like just relax.
I bet the cryotherapy would be the best. But that's not like a common thing to find. You can find Groupons for it if you find somewhere around you that does it.
When I was going to that dude in Philly to get my massages, I would just tell him like what I was doing, and he would always remind me that was a terrible idea that I was doing this, and then I would say I'm not going to stop doing it. So he knew like how and where to massage me, so that like my hamstrings were always loose, my calves were always loose, my feet weren't like getting cramped up and stuff like that. My lower back was okay, and so that
a lot of people said Tiger Balm or just like straight up Bengay like helps.
Yeah. Or this is expensive, but that's CBD lotion that we use. You swear by that stuff, but that's a lot.
Yeah, you not for that. I wouldn't use it, like, because you have to. You need the whole thing. I imagine for your legs. I'd be rubbing it all over my legs. Okay, hold on. We have a couple more questions.
Cool.
Diana is asking about the parent meeting. I know that parents are concerned about their children, but some asking very private questions, beliefs, age. Do you think answering is okay, or should I stop them at some point?
Parents asking the teacher that kind of stuff? Is that what you're taking from that?
I'm not quite sure. I need to find it on the screen.
Okay, so if it is, right, so if I'm gathering this correctly, like teachers being asked by parents what their belief systems are, and like anything that doesn't have to do with education, I don't share that stuff with parents. Concerned about their children, but some question.
Yeah, so asking the teacher is what
no, I'm not telling you that stuff. And because I don't want you to make a call on me based on like we're both the same religion, and so now you think I'm down, or we're not, and so now you think I'm not down, or because you know that like where I come from or what my past is, you're going to make like a judgment call on like who I am or where my heart is or where I'm coming from. Like I've had parents do that before, and that always kind of excites me, because I just think like I'm gonna wear you down, and then you're gonna love me. So I wouldn't answer that kind of stuff. Now, look, if a student asks me and we're in class and kids ask me like about my religion or my political beliefs, or if we're like, sometimes I'll speak to that stuff if I feel like it's a learning experience, or if that's something that's like has something to do with what we're learning, or what we're doing, or what we're going through. But it's always just sort of like a news flash. It's not like a, hey, look, this is who I'm voting for, you all better do it, or I got vaccinated, you all better go get vaccinated. I'm not interested in like pushing my agenda on anyone like that, because it's not why I'm there. But for parents, unless it was someone I really got down with and they were like, oh, hey, do you go to church? And I'd be like, yes, I do. And here's where I go. And this is what I believe in. Like that's different to me. But like, as I get to know you, like, no, awkward and weird, like not doing that.
Yeah, she said it's questions about her education and her age. She said I look young, but not that much.
No.
Yeah, don't answer. Okay.
You know, it's not nice to ask someone what their age is. And people ask me, but I think it's because I just look so youthful, except for my hair, and they're just like.
For real? Are you saying that you look youthful?
I think people think I look youthful.
Okay. Next question. I also teach freshman English. We are currently having a discussion in our PLC about sticking to canon literature versus moving to literature more relatable to our increasingly diverse students. Any suggestions on how to move a teacher away from old white dead authors?
Look, we love old dead white people in this country. I'm going to tell you. That could be a sign. I think that's what I think that's written on the Statue of Liberty on that book. I think it says, "We love old dead white people."
So what would you argue to encourage someone to move away?
There's a lot to say about this. I would say that, one, what are we reading? Like, so there are certain books in the canon, right? Like, I know we have this, the canon, right? It's like a friggin', like it's the holy grail of literature or something like that. There are certain things that are worth reading. Like, we read the Odyssey every year because it's like, it's one of a kind. It's the OG. It is the thing that so much other stuff has like been like the hero's journey was like in large part based on. So there's some of that. There's a lot. I read a lot of old white guy stuff. Some of that is also because it's cheaper, right? You can buy 100 copies of Lord of the Flies for cheaper than you can buy 100 copies of The Hate You Give or like the newest Jason Reynolds book or something like that. So that's part of it, I guess, right? Like it's access. And a lot of that stuff's free online too. Like you can read any Edgar Allan Poe story online for free, but I can't get like free short stories of like modern day authors and stuff. To that, I would say that it is important. The reason that it's important for us to get that sort of thing in front of our students is that we want our students to see themselves in the books that they're reading. Like that's what relevancy, like if we go into like what's relevant, it is helping students to see themselves. Now that could be that you're teaching Black and brown students and you want them to see Black and brown characters, but it can also mean seeing folks in there that are the same age, that are coming from similar situations that you are, that are going through certain like current, like they are living through things that you can identify with. And although we can do that with like some older books, like basically Fahrenheit 451, like foretold the future in a lot of respects. But I just think that like Ready Player One is just a better, it's like a more relevant book for students to read. And to deal with a lot of modern day topics that are going on, like LGBTQ plus, like Black Lives Matter, like certain things that are going on in politics, like to speak to culture, to tie what the world your students are living in, connect that into the literature is like, why wouldn't we do that? This just seems ridiculous. And so I would love to know what the argument is against that, because that would be a really interesting conversation to have. If your school shuts that down and they're like, no, here you go, here's Moby Dick, better deal with it. I think that it's really important to find secondary texts. And I think good places to do that are like using the New York Times or getting your school to connect with Scholastic, which is someone on the front end I've partnered with before, but I'm like, this isn't like a paid advertisement for them or something like that. Something like Scholastic, something like finding like articles, videos, other pieces of literature that like you can pull in and take excerpts from so you can compare and contrast and talk about it. So what you're doing is maybe your main text, because of the school hierarchy kind of has you reading one thing, you are pulling in resources from all over the place. And that's harder for people to kind of shoot down because secondary texts are so important. And when you go to college, like that's something you're gonna have to be able to do all the time, is pull in all this kind of like relevant material. But that's where I'd start anyway. It is it's absurd. I mean, like, I don't know why we can't do both, right? Like, why can't we read Fahrenheit 451 and Macbeth and then also pull in like a Randy Rebuy book or pull in Persepolis or something that's like that our kids are going to identify with a bit more.
I think we're all done.
Cool. All right. If there were more questions, I apologize, but we're trying to keep this at an hour because there's a whole team that's helping us out with this. And to that end, I really want to, I just want to thank like all the people that show up every week, all the people that help out in the conversation, like the people that share what they're thinking and feeling and going through. It really means a lot. And I really appreciate like the team that helps us kind of put this on, from the folks that are moderating to the folks that are helping like turn this into a podcast, to the folks that are like, you know, Edie that does 79 other things behind the scenes. I appreciate it so much. Next week will be our last week. And then we're going to take a little bit of a break. So we'll be back. We're going to do something fun next week. So, you know, make sure you show up. And that's it, everybody. I hope that you have a really wonderful week and that your school is coming, your year rather, is coming to a peaceful conclusion. Peace.
Troubled by strange noises in the middle of your class?
You experience feelings of dread in your classroom or school?
Have you or any of your staff ever seen a class clown, troublemaker, or sleepy kid?
If the answer is yes, don't wait another minute. Pick up your phone and call the professional.
Reynolds!
Our courteous staff are on call 24 hours a day, ready to meet all of your teacher needs.
We're ready to help you.